Okay, what we're going to do here is run through how to download, install and configure an FTP client so you can transfer your files to us securely. You can collect documents as well. First thing we want to do is open a web browser, go to Google, FileZilla. It's the name of an open source FTP project. Download FileZilla clients. And you can see here the reason we're using this one is it supports all three of the main operating systems: Windows, Linux and Apple. All FTP clients are very similar. They'll have the same settings, maybe in different places. They'll all work, but we'll use this one so we can all follow the same process. So we click on the download link, which will take us to the SourceForge page, where we get to look at ads for 5 seconds. It's the only price we have to pay, and then we save the file. I'm saving it into my downloads folder, which is the default on Windows 7. You can see there it's finished, so I need to run that installation program. I can do it directly from here with Firefox, but it also went into the downloads folder, so we could double click on it there. It doesn't matter where you downloaded it to, only need it once, and that's to do the install. So we open or run that file, agree to the license, basically just accept all the defaults. You can change them if you want to, but I haven't found it necessary. Start the program. And probably wouldn't hurt to read these if you're not, computer savvy. Open them up in the links before you close this box. But basically here we have an FTP client. I'm going to maximize that so we can see what we're doing. They're all very similar in the sense that you're going to have your local file system here. This is, the files on your computer. Once you connect to an FTP server, these will be the file system on the remote or the server. So the first thing to do in this program is open the site manager, because we want to configure a site. This quick connect has only got basic options. It's not really any good for us. We want to create a new site. We can call that whatever we want. That's just a name for a profile of saved settings. I mean, you can have a whole list of them. If you connect to us or our server, you might have others for, your ISP that hosts your website. You'll have FTP access to that to upload your web files. You might have another one for who knows. Now the most important setting is the host, which means the address of the host. We're using a DNS name, ftp.ots.net.au. Now that FTP name, that DNS name will resolve to the IP address of our server. You could type the IP address in there, but it's not the accepted way of doing it, because if the server needs to be moved to a different IP address, we can update the DNS records, and the whole thing would be transparent to you as long as you've put the DNS name here and not the IP address. Standard port for FTP is 21. If you leave that blank, it will use 21. Protocol we want to use is FTP. We're going to use it with encryption, which is often referred to as FTPS. Now let's not confuse that with SFTP, completely different protocol that we're not supporting, simply for the fact that it requires that we generate certificates, to email them to you. You have to install them on your computer before you can connect. It's a bit cumbersome. Get just as the same level of security using FTP with SSL or TLS encryption. So we're going to use explicit FTP over TLS. And what that's going to do is connect using FTP, and then the data that's transferred between the client and the server will be encrypted according to the algorithm of an SSL certificate that we have. We'll see that later on. Now, the logon type needs to be normal. Type in your username and your password, which you would have gotten from me through our email communications. On the Advanced tab, we don't have to change anything here, but changing this default local directory is a good idea to simplify things for you. Now, if I go into my documents, and as if you're a Olympus user, in your My Documents folder you'll have another folder called DSS Player. Inside that you want the message folder, and then inside that is your folder ABCD. Now they're the folders that correspond to the folders on the device, right? So when you plug your device in and it downloads the files, it puts them usually into folder A. If you record it into folder B on the device, it'll end up in folder B here. So we'll make folder A the default local directory. And what that means is when we start up the program, it's going to go straight into that without us having to navigate there. The transfer settings, we need to use passive mode. Default will indeed use passive. Choose passive. What passive mode means is when your client connects to our server, the server tells it a couple of additional ports that it can use for the data transfer, and randomizes them, and it opens them up in the firewall during the session and then closes them again. And that way only port 21 needs to be open on the firewall to allow the initial connection. Much more secure from our point of view, and from your point of view. If we use active mode, which hardly gets used anywhere these days, it requires this coordination of data ports or passive ports between, if you set your client to use a set range of ports, I have to open all those ports up and leave them open, and then everyone has to set it the same. It doesn't work very well, no one uses it. We want passive mode for this. Now basically that's it. We've saved that profile. We can click OK. Now we can connect using the little arrow here. The profile now drops down. We can click on that. We can open the site manager again, and we could just click connect here after we choose it. So we'll do that. We connect. Now you'll see here's the notification, and this only happens the first time. This is the SSL certificate. It's using 2048-bit encryption. We need to save the certificate on the computer with the client, that way, so that it knows how to decipher the data or decrypt the data, when it receives it from the server. Everything's encrypted as it transfers via the internet. If you don't click this button here, it'll pop up every time you connect. If we click this one, it's going to save it into our certificates store on the computer, and you won't see it anymore. So we trust the certificate. You can see it's issued by Startcom, 2048-bit. Click OK, bang, there we go, it's connected. Now you'll see this is the remote directory. Now this WS archive folder, you can't delete it, and don't load your files in there. They need to go directly into the root folder for our transcription management system to pick them up automatically, put them in the queue. Once it's done that, it will move the audio files into the archive. if you put them straight in there, they won't get picked up automatically, and you'll be, you know, shooting emails through later wondering where they are, and we'll have to go and dig them out and, you know, sort it out manually. But so we don't want to change anything over here, and because we set the default directory, it went straight to where our files are. All we really need to do, double click on them, shoot them across. They're not taking very long because they're not very big, but you know, if you transfer a large file, so if I go into downloads, find something big, ISO file, you'll see when I transfer this one, and this is what you'll normally see because they won't go this fast over the internet. You know, you can get a list down the bottom here of your transfer, how far it's going, how fast it's transferring. If you clicked on 5 files, they'd queue up one below the other, and you'd see them in the window as they went through. And once it's finished, what happened there? Just had to refresh it, and there's the files come through now. I'll delete that because it's not an audio file. But the next time, you could log out now. The next time you log in, you won't see them there anymore. They will have been moved into that folder by the system, as it automatically puts them into the transcription management system. And that's it, you're done. Okay, now just other things you can look at here. If you want, once it's all working fine, you might want to, for example, get rid of the message log at the top here. So we only need to see that if we're having problems. Gives us more window space, and I personally don't like this 2-tier folder structure, so I would normally have local directory tree and remote directory tree gone as well. Now this is when I go to I can exit the program. Actually, disconnect first. This button here is disconnect. So if I exit the program, you'll see that when I open it again and connect to this particular connection, see it's remember the last folder we were in, but when I connect here, it's going to default to the one we set straight away. There's my files. Here's my, I just double click, across they come. I click disconnect, and I'm done, finished. Files are there. That's all there is to it.